Hello and welcome. I am Virginia Madoran, one of the co-directors of the North Carolina Deafblind Project. Today we will be talking about a potential assessment tool that can be used with students with deafblindness called the Communication Matrix. First, I'd like to share more about the North Carolina Deafblind Project. The North Carolina Deafblind Project is a federally funded grant through the Office of Special Education Programs and is administered through the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the Office of Exceptional Children. The mission of the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the North Carolina Deafblind Project is to assist educators, related service providers, and families to gain knowledge and enable children who are deafblind to access the general curriculum and to gain skills and experiences that prepare them to successfully transition to adult life. The North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, in collaboration with the East Carolina University Teacher Support Program for Learners with Deafblindness and the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center, directs grant activities such as the annual Child Count Census, educator support activities such as financial support to attend professional development activities, educational training for families, and collaboration with other state deafblind projects. The contents of this presentation were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Let's get started. The Communication Matrix is an assessment that was first published in 1990 and was revised in 1996 and 2004 by Dr. Charity Rowland of Oregon Health and Science University. It was designed as an assessment tool used to document the expressive communication skills of children who have severe or multiple disabilities, including children with sensory, motor, and cognitive impairments. It is an especially helpful tool when working with students with deafblindness. The Communication Matrix is a free online assessment tool created to help professionals and family members support students with severe communication difficulties in their journey towards greater self-expression. The Matrix is an assessment tool with robust scientific research that helps to pinpoint an individual's current communication level while also giving a framework for determining future goals. The tool targets all ages, however, it focuses only on the earliest stages of communication. The matrix also accommodates any type of communicative behavior, including alternative forms like picture systems, electronic devices, voice output systems, braille, sign language, and three-dimensional symbols. Pre-symbolic communications such as gestures, body movements, sounds, eye gaze, and facial expressions, as well as typical forms of communication such as speech and writing. It covers 7 levels of development occurring during the earliest stages of communication in typically developing individuals. In short, it's a comprehensive and flexible tool that can be used with a variety of communication modalities. The original version of the matrix was primarily designed for use by speech-language pathologists and educators. A more user-friendly version, designed especially for parents, was published in 2004 in response to requests from the field. The results of both professional and parent versions are summarized on a one-page profile that shows what level of communicative behaviors the child uses and what kinds of messages or communicative intents are expressed. These profiles allow parents and professionals to directly compare the information they have from home, school, or clinic to provide a comprehensive portrait of a child's communication skills. An online version of the Matrix was developed in 2013 in order to make it easier to use, more freely available, and to encourage collaboration between professionals and parents, both of whom can enter data by answering a series of questions. The website was designed so that parents and professionals can enter data describing a child's communication skills by answering a series of 24 questions related to the use of specific communicative behaviors and intents. Once the 24 questions have been answered, the website automatically generates a one-page profile identical to the one included in the print version of the matrix that captures communication status at a glance. In addition, the website automatically generates a communication skills list that shows the specific communicative behaviors that the individual uses to express each communicative intent. The website is currently available in English, Spanish, traditional Chinese, Russian, Korean, and Vietnamese to make it accessible to non-English speaking users. A customized clinical report function that includes the potential to select educational goals based on matrix assessment results is also available. This gives users the option to generate a completely personalized report with detailed results and explanations of current functioning and progress, as well as a brief summary report suitable for a variety of users who may not be as familiar with the tool. Next, we'll talk a little bit more about organization of the matrix. The communication matrix captures two major aspects of communication: the reason that individuals communicate and the behaviors that they use to communicate. It is organized into four reasons to communicate. Number one, to refuse things that we don't want. Number two, to obtain things that we do want. Number three, to engage in social interaction. And number four, to provide or seek information. Under each of these four major reasons are 24 more specific messages or communicative intents, such as requesting more of an action or gaining attention. These 24 messages correspond to the questions that users must answer to complete the matrix. The matrix includes all types of communication and is further organized into 7 levels of communicative behavior. Number 1, pre-intentional behavior. Number 2, intentional behavior. Number 3, unconventional communication. Number 4, conventional communication. Number 5, concrete symbols. Number 6, abstract symbols. And number 7, language. These levels are based on the pragmatic approach to communication development first discussed by Bates in 1979 that acknowledges the communicative intent of pre-linguistic behavior in young children. Because communication can happen through movements of the body, the face, the eyes, the hands, as well as through sounds and words, the matrix is further organized by 9 categories of communicative behavior, which includes body movements, early sounds, facial expressions, visual responses, simple gestures, conventional gestures and vocalizations, concrete symbols, abstract symbols, and language. On the next few slides, we will learn more specifically about the levels of communicative development. As a reminder, the matrix begins with pre-intentional behavior. At this stage of communicative development, behavior is not under the child's control, but it reflects a general state of being, like feelings of comfort, hunger, or sleepiness. Caregivers must interpret what the child needs or is feeling from observed behaviors like spontaneous body movements, facial expressions, and sounds. In a typically developing child, this stage occurs between 0 and 3 months of age. The next level of communicative development is intentional behavior. In this stage of communicative development, behavior is under the child's control. However, it is not yet used to communicate intentionally. Caregivers have to continue to interpret the child's needs and desires by observing behaviors like body movements, facial expressions, and sounds. Individuals at this stage do not yet realize that they can use these types of behaviors for communication. In typically developing children, this stage usually occurs between 3 and 8 months of age. The next level of communicative development is unconventional communication. In this stage of communicative development, the child begins to use behavior to communicate intentionally. Communicative behaviors at this level include body movements, vocalizations, facial expressions, and simple gestures like tugging on people. These behaviors are still considered pre-symbolic as they do not involve any sort of symbol, and they are classified as unconventional because they are not socially acceptable for us to use as we grow older. In typically developing children, this stage occurs between 6 and 12 months of age. The next level of communicative development is conventional communication. In this stage of communicative development, communicative behaviors are still pre-symbolic because they do not involve any sort of symbol, but now they are conventional because they are socially acceptable, and we will continue to use them throughout our lives. These behaviors might include things like pointing, nodding, waving, and hugging, and some vocal intonations may also be used. In typically developing children, this stage occurs between 12 and 18 months of age. The next level of communicative development is concrete symbols. This level of communicative development is special as it marks the beginning of symbolic communication. Concrete symbols like pictures, objects, iconic gestures, and even sounds can be used to physically resemble what they represent. For some children, concrete symbols may be the only type of symbol that makes sense to them, but for others, they may serve as a bridge to using abstract symbols later. In typically developing children, this stage occurs in conjunction with gestures and words, generally between 12 and 24 months of age. The next level of communicative development is abstract symbols. In this stage of communicative development, abstract symbols like speech, manual signs, brailled words, or printed words are used one at a time to communicate. These symbols are abstract because they are not physically similar to what they represent. In typically developing children, this stage occurs between 12 and 24 months of age. The next level of communicative development is language. In this final stage of communicative development, symbols, either concrete or abstract, are combined into 2 to 3 symbol combinations. For example, this might include 2-word combinations like want juice or 3-word combinations like me go out. The child understands that the meanings of symbol combinations differ depending upon the order of the symbols. In typically developing children, this stage begins around 24 months of age. As you can see, the communication matrix offers valuable information for teams to consider when assessing the communication skills of a learner with deafblindness. If you're interested in further training on use of the communication matrix, you can visit the Communication Matrix website at communicationmatrix.org. Under the Professional Development tab of this website, there is a training webinar that explains the structure and use of the communication matrix. Learning outcomes for this recorded webinar training include the ability for participants to be able to describe the organizational structure of the communication matrix, be able to use the communication matrix to assess expressive communication skills in early communicators, be able to use the online communication matrix to review results with family members, and be able to generate clinical reports using the custom report feature of the online communication matrix. Additional information can also be found on these websites. To learn more about the Communication Matrix, visit their website at communicationmatrix.org. To learn more about assessing and working with students with deafblindness, visit the Opens Hands Open Access Learning modules on the National Center on Deafblindness's website at nationaldb.org. Finally, we recognize that meeting the needs of learners with deafblindness may come with questions, and your North Carolina Deafblind Project is here to help support your understanding of those needs. The North Carolina Deafblind Project has 4 co-directors, Dr. Alan Chase and myself, Virginia Madoran, with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, Dr. Sandra Warren with the ECU Teacher Support Program, and Deborah Pickens with the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center. Please feel free to contact the North Carolina Deafblind Project co-directors if you need further support.